Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do to make our blueberry lemon scones is start out with 2.5 cups of the biscuit mix in a bowl. And what we want to do is add about 2 tablespoons of sugar to the mix because the biscuit mix doesn't have any sugar in it already. And since we want these scones to be a little bit sweet, we're just going to add some sugar. And then what we're also going to do is zest a lemon. So we're going to want to use like all the zest of the lemon. So what you can do is take your zester and flip it upside down, so that way you can kind of see how much zest you're getting before you put it in the bowl. And that's a good trick to use, like if you just need a little bit of zest, if you don't need the whole lemon. Like if you were just using a half a tablespoon, you could just stop when you see that, you know, you have enough zest in there. But in this instance, we're going to use the zest off the whole lemon. And you don't have to use lemon zest in here. You can use orange zest if that's what you have, or you can just leave it out. But I can smell the zest already, and it just smells so good, and it makes the blueberry scones taste that much more better. So and then we're just going to give it a quick stir to kind of evenly distribute. We don't want to bite into a scone and just get a chunk of lemon zest. So we want to make sure that that's distributed evenly. Then the next thing we want to do is take our 1/3 cup of milk, and we're going to just crack 2 eggs. Crack 2 eggs into that. Just break up your eggs. Make sure it's well beaten. And then we're just going to add the milk and the eggs to our dry ingredients. And we're going to stir it until it's moist. So this biscuit mix really helps you make scones faster than if you just started from scratch and you had to measure out all the flour and the butter and whatever else, salt and everything, one by one. So having the biscuit mix ready and in your pantry really saves time. So we're just going to stir it together until it's just moistened. And it is just moistened. And I already have a piece of plastic on my counter here. And so the plastic is just going to help me sort of manipulate the dough and let the dough come together without getting my fingers all goopy. So what I'm going to do now is just use my plastic to sort of flatten out the dough. And the lemon zest in here is just, it smells really good. So I just want to flatten it out a little bit so we can add our blueberries. And so this is about a cup of blueberries. These are fresh blueberries that I washed them off and I put them in the freezer until they're really hard. So you can hear it's like a marble. And so what you want to do is just take your blueberries and evenly distribute them throughout the dough. Now this is just a pint of blueberries. So if you just buy one of these from the store, that's going to equal about a cup of blueberries. You might have to pick a few out that are shriveled up or something like that. It might not be good for you to use, but just 1 pint of blueberries 1 pack of blueberries, I should say. So you just want to evenly distribute them throughout the dough. And we want to lightly press them into the dough so they don't roll out when we're done, when we're folding. So what you want to do is take this dough and you want to fold it into thirds. So we're going to use the plastic to help fold it over this way and over this way. And then you just peel it back like that. Some of the blueberries, if they pop out, you just stick them back in there. So now what you should have is something reminiscent of a rectangle. So we're just going to stick our little blueberries in there. And if you have a lot of dough on your plastic, you can just always kind of scrape it. There's not too much left on here. And just want to shape it up, give it a nice shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So now that we have our scone dough, and if you, I'm going to grab a little bit more of the biscuit mix because this dough is a little bit sticky, and I don't want my knife to stick when I'm trying to cut. So I'm just going to take maybe a teaspoon of biscuit mix and just sprinkle it over the top a little bit, like that. You don't want to put too much because you don't want your scones to be tough. I just don't want my knife to stick, which is why I just did that. So I'm going to continue to just sort of shape the dough into a nice rectangle. That looks good to me. So now what I'm going to do is take my knife and I'm going to cut. Cut it into 4. I'm going to cut it into 4 squares, and then I'm going to take those squares and cut them diagonally, like so. So we have 8 scones. And when you pick one up, you can see that the blueberries cut straight through because they're frozen and you don't squirt out all over the place. So next step, what we're going to do is take our scones, put them on a greased baking sheet. If you have something like this, which is a Silpat mat, you can also line your baking sheet with the Silpat, and that way you don't have to use any additional oil because these are non-stick. If you don't have one of those, you just spray your sheet or lightly butter it so that way your scones don't stick to it. And then we're going to put it in a 425-degree oven for 12 minutes. So when we come back, I'll show you the finished scones. Okay, so here are our scones, fresh and hot out of the oven. As you can see, they're nicely browned across the top. One thing I forgot to mention is that you do have the option of brushing a little milk or heavy cream on top of your scones, and you can also sprinkle it with a little bit more sugar if you want to. But I feel like these scones really don't need it. They're fine the way they are, but that is an option for you. And so let's take one off and see how we did. Okay. So you can split this up into 2 different baking sheets. Probably would have been a good idea. So let's flip it over. It's nice and light on the bottom. It's not burnt or anything. Blueberries are bursting, nice and moist. Let's open one up and see. Very good. And these scones were actually in the oven close to 15 minutes because I like mine really dark. Not really dark, but I don't like them too pale. So, and then they also continue to cook a little bit as they come out of the oven. So, break one open. You can see it's nice and fluffy. And these scones are not hard like a rock that you have to like dip it in a cup of tea in order for it to even be able to be chewed. So they're nice and soft, nice and fluffy. You're going to enjoy them, and I hope you get to make them very soon. See you next time. Bye.